Joining me is the leader of, I think it's still called the Brexit Party, Nigel Farage. Nigel, you didn't trust David Cameron on the EU, I think it is fair to say, and you didn't trust Theresa May. I have to say, you've always looked like you've got a softer spot for Boris Johnson. Do you trust him on this?
Well, we keep talking about a deal, but the truth is the deal was done last October. Boris signed not a deal, but a new EU treaty. That is what the withdrawal agreement is. And what's happening now is we're talking about interpretation. I've been worried with the signs over the course of the last few days. We've agreed, according to Mr. Barnier, that we'll stay part of the European Human Rights Convention under the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg. Strong indications we're going to stay part of the European arrest warrant under a Romanian EU prosecutor. And now Michael Gove tells us we should celebrate that there won't be tariffs inside the United Kingdom, and we're going to see EU officials in Northern Ireland. And I think all I can see is a British Prime Minister playing tough. But in the end, I think we're going to sign up to pretty much what he agreed to in that new EU treaty. And that means, yep, it's Brexit. But in many areas, sadly, I fear it's going to be Brexit in name only.
So just to be absolutely clear, you are backing no deal?
No deal is better than a bad deal, and the withdrawal agreement, as it's written, is not good for Britain. It doesn't leave us economically free enough.
I mean, some might say you're playing politics. There was a time when you supported the idea of being in the single market. This is a deal outside the single market, outside the customs union.
Never. The single market.
There was a time where you would have taken that, Nigel.
No, it's anti-competitive. And that's the point about Brexit. I mean, number one, you get your sovereignty back. That's a democratic side of Brexit. But the economic side of Brexit is so that we can become competitive, not stuck with a single rule book, not stuck with a level playing field. And here's the problem. So much of what was in that treaty last October committed us effectively to staying aligned to EU rules. Then Boris Johnson, facing a general election, made promises that were completely against what he'd sold to us as an oven-ready deal. So look, it isn't just the EU that's acted in bad faith. Boris Johnson has too.
So this idea that they've put forward that you're not going to be able to cut standards, do you think that wipes away any chance of getting red tape down as Brexit was supposed to deliver?
Yeah, I mean, standards is the new way of putting it. I mean, if we hadn't reduced our so-called employment and trade union standards post-1979, goodness knows where we would have been. I want us to be competitive, and that means having smarter, better, slimmer regulation. It means making
cutting standards. You want to cut standards, just to be absolutely clear.
No, I actually want to improve legislation to reduce the legislative burden on business, and particularly on small and medium-sized business. And when you do that, you find there's more investment, more wealth, and more jobs.
Okay.
And only by being free, genuinely free of single market rules, can we do that.
So if this is Brexit in name only in your eyes, what will you do personally, politically this year? Next year, sorry.
I just don't know what the appetite is in the British public to keep this endless battle going on. I mean, for 4.5 years, a Conservative government has had the job of getting Brexit done, and they failed pretty miserably. We now face, of course, a new administration, by the looks of it, coming in America. Is there a public appetite to keep these battles going on? I just don't know. I hope and pray.
So you might not be fighting. You might not be fighting elections yourself.
Well, look, I'll go on fighting for us to be free.
Okay.
How much of a force that can be, I just don't know.
I really want to ask you about this. You put £10,000 on Trump winning. Do you accept that you've lost your money?
Yeah, it was a great price. I mean, he was 2-1 against when it was pretty clearly an evens race, and we've seen that because the 4 or 5 key states, Biden is ahead by, on average, 0.5 percentage point. Look,
do you think it's time for him to concede graciously?
I've seen postal voting in the United Kingdom. Wherever you get it on a large scale, you will get fraud. But I don't think he's going to be able to overturn it. So I do think, despite the fact they've gained House of seats, they'll hold the Senate. They've won lots of seats and more counted. They have for 35 years. I think it will be Joe Biden, yes.
But you think it was a fair election, just to be clear?
Anywhere where there is widespread postal voting, you will see fraud and intimidation. It's a rotten system.
Very, very quick. Tonight, Ursula von der Leyen sort of ticked off Boris Johnson for not having his mask on. He had to put it back on. Just to check, what would you have done in that situation?
Well, she's the boss. She's the boss. And we always do as they tell us to do.
Thank you very much.